Hello, this is News Live on Viewer Television. I am Janfa Okolo. We begin with the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari signs mental health bill into law. Federal government advises undocumented Nigerians to leave Equatorial Guinea. Plus, Sudan demonstrators return to streets, demands political reform. Many thanks for joining us. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari has signed the harmonized mental health bill into law. The bill, which was harmonized by the Senate and House of Representatives in 2021, will replace the Lunacy Act of 1958. The president of the Association of Psychiatrists of Nigeria, Professor Taiwo Obindo, who confirmed the signing, described it as a great relief to the mental health care and practice in the country. With the new law, the Lunacy Act of 1958, which practitioners condemn as outdated and inhuman, will cease to be effective. The establishment of a Department of Mental Health Services in the Federal Ministry of Health and a Mental Health Fund are some of the provisions of the National Mental Health Bill. Meanwhile, the federal government has advised undocumented Nigerians in Equatorial Guinea to return to the country. The advice was contained in a statement signed by the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission, Head Media Public Relations and Protocols Unit, Abdurrahman Balogun, on Friday. According to the Commission, its attention was drawn to a report by the government of Equatorial Guinea on October 17, 2022, advising undocumented foreigners in the country to leave voluntarily or face government sanction. The government of Equatorial Guinea noted that the move will help create stability in the country. Now, disturbed by the resurgence of COVID-19 in China, medical bodies in the country have expressed worry about the federal government's refusal to place travel restrictions on inbound passengers from China in the country. According to them, Nigeria does not have adequate human resources to handle another pandemic as a result of the massive immigration of health workers to other countries. There's the resurgence of COVID-19 in China following the relaxation of the country's zero-COVID policy, as well as significantly increased COVID-19 cases, admissions and deaths in the United Kingdom and the United States of America over the past weeks, driven partly by the usual winter exacerbations of respiratory illness. The Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention has maintained that country-targeted travel restrictions, including requests for PCR negative tests from incoming travelers, had little or no effect on preventing global and national circulation of Omicron since the emergence of this variant and its relatives with their shorter incubation period. Still on health matters, the Nigerian Association of Resident Doctors has said that the chief medical director or medical director of any hospital in the country where a doctor or health worker is attacked by patient relatives during the line of duty should be queried. Decrying the spate of attacks on medical professionals in recent times, NERD said it was the responsibility of the CMDs and the medical directors of hospitals to provide security to their staff. The national president of NERD, Dr. Emeka Oji, stated this while speaking in an exclusive interview. Oji, who is also a senior registrar at the Department of Orthopedics and Trauma Surgery, Federal Medical Center, Umuahia, Abia State, lamented that hospitals in the country are not secure. According to him, security should not be compromised in hotspots in the hospitals, particularly in the emergency departments and general outpatient departments where most of the attacks take place. Well, moving on, a People's Democratic Party candidate for Pengana constituency in Plateau State House of Assembly, Matthew Akao, is dead. It was learned that Akao died in a hospital on Friday morning after a brief illness. A family source who confirmed the development in Jos said that the former school principal died a few hours after returning from a traditional festival in his Bata local government area of the state. His political associate and lawmaker representing Jos South constituency in the State House of Assembly, Fum Watson, described the PDP candidate's death as shocking. The PDP candidate's death brings to 2 the number of candidates who have died in the state ahead of the forthcoming general elections. Still in Plateau State, a 35-year-old widow and mother of four who had been devastated by violent attacks in Plateau State was given a house by the non-governmental group Jinkai Aid Initiative. The NGO's board chairman, Professor Emmanuel Gier, stated that at a news conference in just that the organization's goal was to lessen the suffering of those who had been the victims of violent attacks. He says the organization is determined to reconstruct residential buildings of the most vulnerable victims of the attacks. We'll learn more from our correspondent, Nasiru Saidu.
This is a briefing about the organization operation in Nigeria for journalists by Jinkai Aid Initiative. The briefing, which showcases the organization's vision, is presided by Professor Emmanuel Gay, the organization's board chairman, along with two other members.
As you all are aware, Nigeria has been convulsed in ethno-religious violence for several decades now. And it's not just Nigeria, it's West Africa and many parts of the world. But we are focused on Nigeria because we are originally of Nigerian descent. So Jinkai Aid Initiative was founded by Nigerian Canadians based on the desire to alleviate the suffering of people who have been affected by these ethno-religious clashes. Our vision is to build economically viable and thriving communities. And we are focused particularly on helping people to rebuild their homes.
Ancha, village in Basi local government area of Plateau State, was the site of Jinkai's first project. This community had suffered from a number of attacks.
In terms of the number of homes that were destroyed, if we are particular with Ancha, I would say that roughly over 100 homes were destroyed. And the community in their own effort were able to move some of them, and some of them were destroyed completely beyond roofing. You have to build a new home.
And yesterday we were able to hand over the keys to our very first home that was built through a widow at Ancha village, which is in Nyambo, Basa local government of Plateau State. This house that was built for this widow was designed by Nigerian architecture students whom we challenged to do a design competition in 2019. And the competition was judged by an international panel of prominent architects. And the design that was selected was presented to the beneficiary communities, who then were able to select the design that the widow wants. The designs are using local materials. They had the remit to be easily built by low-skilled individuals, but they will be better quality, they will be sound and resilient for this climate, and also to give people a better accommodation. And also, it is our hope that as we expand our activities, we will cover other parts of Nigeria that have been similarly affected. And also, the designs are widely available to be replicated by other communities worldwide who would like to adopt such designs for their own builds. We also want to ask the government to give these communities legal title documents to their lands. Because in the future, if there are other disturbances and incursions, they have property security, which is also one of the things that we continue to advocate and to propose as we interact with various administrators.
The Jinkai initiative collaborates with significant people and groups to offer a safe haven for thousands of attacks victims across communities around Nigeria. Nasr Saidu, Viewer TV News, Jos.
Now, when News Live returns, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has established committees for National Situation Room and Collation Center for the 2023 general elections. Details of this and more come to you right after the break.
Two souls together. Forever now.
Tat Fragrance, the new luxury fragrance for men and women.
Welcome back. If you are just joining us, this is News Live on Viewer Television. Here's a recap of our top stories. President Muhammadu Buhari signs mental health bill into law. Federal government advises undocumented Nigerians to leave Equatorial Guinea plus. Sudan demonstrators return to streets, demands political reform. Many thanks for staying with us. Now, the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has established committees for National Situation Room and Collation Center for the 2023 general elections. The commission stated this via its official Twitter handle. The chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, while inaugurating the committee, charged its members to start work in earnest and discharge their responsibilities diligently. Professor Yakubu will head the Collaboration Secretariat Committee, while the National Commissioner, May Agbamuchi Mbu, would chair the Situation Room Committee. According to the National Commissioner and Chairman, Information and Voter Education Committee, Festus Okoye, the Commission during its weekly meeting on Thursday had deliberated on several issues, including the venue for the National Situation Room and Collation Center for the 2023 general elections. Now, the Court of Appeal Sokoto Division has affirmed Dauda Lawal Dare as the People's Democratic Party (PDP) governorship candidate in the 2023 general elections. It thereby set aside the judgment of the Federal High Court seated in Gusau, the state capital, which had earlier disqualified Lawal Dare. In November, the court nullified the governorship primary of the PDP that produced the plaintiff. As the party's candidate, marking the second time the court will disqualify the party's governorship primary selection in the state. The Federal High Court had also declared in its judgment that the PDP had no candidates for the state position in the forthcoming election in the state. In September, the court nullified the previous primary that elected Lawal Dare following a suit filed before by Ibrahim Shehu and two other aspirants challenging the credibility of the primary. The court ordered a rerun, but Lawal Dare emerged winner at the rerun also in September. Well, moving on, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has commenced the second phase of food distribution from items donated by King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center, CARES Relief, for 8,000 households of internally displaced persons in 4 camps and host communities in Borno State. Director General NEMA Mustafa Ahmed, who flagged off the distribution in Maiduguri, said at the conclusion of the second phase of the distribution, about 16,000 IDPs households in Borno State would have benefited from the food donation by KS Relief. The first phase of the food distribution was done in December 2022. The NEMA DG, who was represented by Director of Planning, Research and Forecasting, Fatima Kasim, said each of the household is expected to have 59.8 kilograms of the food basket, while appreciating the King of Saudi Arabia, Salman Abdulaziz, and the Crown Prince and Prime Minister Mohammed Salman for the donation delivered through KS Relief. The NEMA DG, Mustafa Ahmed, said the gesture would go a long way to benefit the IDPs and complement the efforts of the federal government. Well, still in Borno State, Kube cap is amongst the several fashions adopted in northern Nigeria, particularly in Borno State. This costume serves several functions, from protecting the wearer from the scorching sun to a display of wealth and affluence, among others. Correspondent Christy Beatrice takes a look at the history of the cap and how familiar residents can differentiate the designs from other states. The report.
Kube caps can be traced back to ancient times that was largely undocumented in northern Nigeria. Most men in this region wear the caps on native attire, popularly called kaftan, not just for fashion but identity. It's worn during special occasions such as Salah celebrations, naming ceremonies, and weddings. Kube cap plays an essential role in society as maturity and responsibility are well ascribed to wearers. It has many designs, sizes, and different names named after notable people who first wore them. Babagana Mukhtar is adding some caps to his collection, but how well can he identify other caps beside Borno designs?
I don't know the ones from other states because they are not Borno made. I always know one called Minister and few others. Most of the ones that we don't know, they bring them from other states.
Miaram they call it, and it's made in Meduguri. Yeah.
You know why they call them Miara?
Actually, I don't know the real meaning of Miaram because I'm not Kanuri by tribe. I am Hausa Fulani.
Okay. Which other names of caps will you know? If you count them.
I know Zanna Bukar, and there are some different caps where I know I used to wear. Like Zanna Bukar, I know about it, and as well as
For we in Meduguri, we wear the cap often, not only when you want to look good or you are nicely dressed, but some people from other places feel like wearing it only on wedding days.
It takes over 20 or more days to design and complete a cap, and each design has a special name attached to it, like the Rawaram cap, named after an old female singer from Bama town.
Yeah, it was named after a woman singer who is known to be singing in Kanuri in the olden days, particularly early 50s and then early 60s. So she flipped the cap by then, and she prayed after the cap that they should name after her, and it's named after her, and up to now it is named. When you want it, you say Rawaram as you said.
You know, so when you came from Borno, if you're not using this cap, you are not a qualitative man. If you are from Borno, if you where then they call this color captain or this thing, where our people they are calling it Zaria or Hausa people. So if you wear captain, you will use this cap, so the cap will fit you. Even our governor and our president is using this cap. It's from Bama. From Bama is from Meduguri.
An individual, either you are married or you are not married, you can wear the cap. But mostly responsible people that knows who they are and what they are the ones that mostly wear the cap. Because if you're up to a certain stage that you are not even wearing the cap, even they will tell you that, oh, why you don't have the cap at this age or when you are now in this position. So this is where the issue comes in.
It is indisputable that almost all Nigerians are associated with one form of cap or the other, but ethnic groups use the Kube cap, though not part of their tribal dressing.
The Department of State Services (DSS) has said that it is not in court against the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC), Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. In a brief communique by its spokesperson, Peter Afunaya, the DSS said a recent publication with the headline "Court Stops DSS from Arresting INEC Chairman" had its facts squished. According to the DSS image maker, the service has pointed out its disapproval to the editorial authorities of the newspaper that published the story, and a promise agreement was reached to address the concerns raised. However, those concerns are yet to be resolved. Dr. Afanaya stressed that his communique has become important to guide public understanding and perception, especially that the said report is misleading. The DSS therefore warned those individuals and groups to desist from their devious plans. It also advised all critical stakeholders to be vigilant and resist attempts to use them to thwart the law. Well, the Nigerian Meteorological Agency has predicted dust haze weather condition, also known as harmattan, from Friday to Sunday across the country. NIMA's weather outlook released in Abuja anticipated prospects of thick dust haze on Friday over the northern region, with visibility of less than 1,000 meters over Yobe, Kano, Katsina, and Jigawa. According to NIMET, thick dust haze with horizontal visibility of less than 1,000 meters is expected over Kano, Katsina, Jigawa, and Yobe on Saturday. The emergency envisaged the rest of the northern states, the north central and southern region of the country to be a moderate dust haze condition with horizontal visibility range of 1,000 meters to 5,000 meters throughout the forecast period. You're still watching News Live on Viewers Television. Business and international news comes to you right after the break. Do stay tuned. And on business today, the Nigerian Upstream Petroleum Regulatory Commission has issued a 7-day ultimatum for all lease and license holders operating in Nigeria's oil and gas sector to disclose the real owners of their companies. In a directive signed by its chief executive, Benga Komolafe, the commission demanded that the information to be disclosed must include the identity or identities of the beneficial owner or owners, the level of ownership, and the details of how control is exerted. He stressed that the full list of real owners of the companies is submitted to the Commission. The move came on the heels of the recent release of a beneficiary ownership register by the Nigerian Extractive Industries Transparency Initiative, NEITI, and the Corporate Affairs Commission. According to Komolafe, the NUPRC is fully committed to working with NEITI to deepen Nigeria's implementation of contract transparency and beneficial ownership disclosures in the country. Moving on to the manufacturing industry, the Lagos Chamber of Commerce has said that the contribution of manufacturing to the gross domestic product may fall from the 8.2% recorded in the third quarter of 2022 unless the government intervenes in the sector. In its New Year statement on the economic signed by the Director General, Chinyere Almona, the Chamber called on the government to save manufacturing from decline by providing financial support and improving the operating environment. Almona stated that factors that may continue to drive the major economic indicators are rising inflation, tight monetary policies, an unstable currency, foreign exchange scarcity, and debt burden. The Lagos Chamber head also noted that currency management, food supply disruptions, exchange rate volatility, and election spending will also influence the economy in 2023. The Chamber projected that the CBN may further review the interest rate upward during its Monetary Policy Committee meeting in January to 17%. Over to stock markets. Equities transactions ended in the negative territory at the close of trading on Thursday, reversing the gains recorded in the first 2 trading days of the week. The all-share index shed 1.53% or 789.04 points to close at 50,868.52 points amid renewed profit-taking activities, while the market capitalization depreciated by 430 billion naira to close at 27,706 trillion naira. The market sentiment, however, remained positive as trading closed with 20 gainers as against 16 losers. Sterling Bank recorded the highest volume of 29.2 million traded shares and was followed by Guarantee Trust Holding with 19.9 million shares. At the end of the day's trading, a total of 138.716 million shares with market value of 1.83 billion naira were traded in 3,673 deals. Meanwhile, the Nigerian Employers Consultative Association has stated that dwindling e-bills and forex scarcity were adversely impacting businesses in the country. The Director General of Nigeria's Employers Consultative Association, Adewale Onyerinde, during a recent media parley in Lagos, said businesses must have critical inputs in the context of raw materials, finance, and a stable environment to grow. He added that businesses also need a hospitable regulatory framework or environment to flourish. He further lamented that manufacturers had to approach the black market before they could have access to forex, having to pay double of what they had budgeted for production expenses. Oyeride noted that there was confusion about the fiscal and monetary policies as different authorities, especially between the Apex Bank and the Ministry of Finance, were issuing contradictory fiscal and monetary policies while they were supposed to work in synergy. Now, on news around the world, the Senegalese authorities have barred a demonstration planned for Friday in Dakar by the opposition to denounce irregularities in the management of an anti-COVID fund identified in a report by the Court of Auditors, an official source said. A decree by the prefect of Dakar states that the place chosen for the demonstration is the subject of major works linked to a project for buses running on exclusive lanes and the preparation of the Independence Day scheduled for 4th April. The main opposition coalition, Yawi Askanwi, had called for a demonstration on Friday to contest the way the government is managing public funds and against the democratic backsliding and impunity of the men in power. An audit report by the Court of Auditors of Senegal published in mid-December concerns the expenditure made in 2020 and 2021 on the fund of fight against the effects of COVID-19. The document pointed to shortcomings over billing, lack of justification for expenses, some of which, moreover, are not linked to COVID. Moving on, still in Africa, in Sudan, hundreds of demonstrators have taken to the streets of the capital, Khartoum, to demand the country's military rulers leave power. The demonstrators also rejected a deal struck weeks ago for the gradual transfer of power to civilian leaders. A military coup in October 2021 abruptly ended a previous democratic transition agreement with protest leaders. The protest was led by the resistance committees as a grassroots group that has steadfastly rejected any negotiations with Sudan's military leaders, General Abdel Fattah Burhan and General Mohamed Dagalo. The agreement between military and civilian leaders also avoided sensitive political issues concerning transitional justice and reforming the military, a policy that promises to see various armed factions within Sudan integrate into one fighting force. Well, Hawaii's Kilauea began erupting inside its summit crater Thursday, the U.S. Geological Survey said, less than 1 month after the volcano and its larger neighbor Mauna Loa stopped releasing lava. The Hawaiian Volcano Observatory detected a glow in webcam images indicating Kilauea had begun erupting inside Helamomo crater at the volcano summit caldera. Kilauea Summit is inside Hawaii Volcanoes National Park and away from residential communities. Earlier Thursday, the U.S. Geological Survey raised the alert level of Kilauea during 2 signs that Magma was moving below the summit's surface, an indication that the volcano might erupt. Kilauea is one of the world's most active volcanoes. It last erupted for 16 months, starting in September 2021 for about 2 weeks, starting November 2027. Hawaii had two volcanoes spewing lava side by side when Mauna Loa erupted for the first time in 38 years. Both volcanoes stopped erupting at about the same time. Meanwhile, aid groups say they have been pushed against a wall by the Taliban prohibiting Afghan women from working on NGOs, a ban that has left a dangerous gap in life-saving support. Afghanistan's NGOs have been instrumental in trying to address one of the world's worst humanitarian crises, with half the country's population hungry and 3 million children at risk of malnutrition. Some 1,260 NGOs operate across Afghanistan, with thousands of women workers providing services in healthcare, education, water, and sanitation. The IRC is one of the several NGOs, along with Care and Save the Children, that have suspended operations while they urge the Taliban to revoke the ban. The discriminatory Taliban policy will see thousands of women lose their jobs and many more are cut out of aid loops, workers say.
Last winter, it was humanitarian aid that prevented a famine in this country. If we are not able to deliver humanitarian aid in the same way, if not more than what we did last year, we're going to be faced with a very horrific situation.
It's not about their job anymore. It's not about them anymore. It's about the people who are actually in need of these services. They will also be impacted, and that's how the situation will only get worse and worse with this decision.
And that's all on Newsline, but before we go, here is a recap of the headlines. President Muhammadu Buhari signs the mental health bill into law. Federal government advises undocumented Nigerians to leave Equatorial Guinea plus. Sudan demonstrators return to streets, demands political reform. Well, many thanks for watching. I am Jennifer Okolo. Please stay tuned and enjoy the rest of our programs.